struggling with their mortgages. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this domain article because it's discussing people in Melbourne who are struggling, households that are struggling the most with their mortgages. Now, we've experienced the first recession in nearly 3 decades. Sure, the economy's bounced back, but how much of that is fueled by government stimulus and support? And the question is, what will happen when that is weaned off? And the even more scary question is, can they stop that support? We'll have to see. Where Melbourne households are struggling the most with their mortgages. Melbourne's inner city and most affordable outer suburban postcodes are suffering the highest mortgage delinquency rates, new data shows, but experts say the true extent of households in distress could run much deeper. Now, why are the most affordable outer suburban postcodes suffering the most? Is that the lower socioeconomic areas? You'd think if people had if you had a cheap mortgage, it's a lot easier to keep it going. But affordable in Melbourne is probably still pretty expensive. New figures obtained by Domain from credit bureau Ilion revealed that the top 10 postcodes for mortgage stress are concentrated in investor strongholds and areas where property owners' jobs have been hit worst by the coronavirus, with some areas seeing delinquencies 3 times higher than the metropolitan average. So it's the investors and people at the bottom of the food chain, people whose businesses have been destroyed, people who work in retail. Melbourne's average delinquency rate was 0.52% as of September 2020. The delinquency rate is defined as the number of accounts in the postcode that are 30 days past due. And here's an old chart that I'll bring up, which is just showing you how many people were arrears. How many people... Here in this article, we're talking about 30 days past due. In Western Australia and Northern Territory in 2019, you had over 1.5% over 150 days. So, the postcode of 3061, Camberfield in the northern suburbs, close to Broadmeadows, recorded the highest number of people in mortgage arrears with a delinquency rate of 1.3%, a whopping 152% above the average. It was closely followed by Melbourne City's 3000 postcode with 1.18% and the postcode of 3203 South Melbourne with 1.16%. But more than 120% above the average. As investors with apartments continue to struggle to find tenants, while international students are kept away by the COVID border closures. So we're going to see a lot of these investors, how many of them are trying to get rid of these things? And that's when you're going to start to see some fire sales, some people forced to get out. Maybe they can kick the can down the road until the September 2021, when CommBank will suddenly start to, will no longer be so nice and generous. Remember, we're in mortgage holidays, guys. Head of analytics at Ilion, Louis Tsang, said while the figures painted a picture of what was happening in certain postcodes, it was likely that government supplements such as JobSeeker, as well as mortgage repayment holidays, were masking the true extent of Melbourne's mortgage stress problems. 100%. Due to mortgage deferrals and differing levels of government support over the past 6 months, it is difficult to truly quantify the increase or decrease in distress, he said. The economy is still artificially supported, and it's like risk is wearing a mask, and it's not identified as such. However, it is clear that there are pockets of risk surfacing across the state. These areas have a higher delinquency rate compared to the state average and similar metropolitan areas across the country, he said. Charter Kramer research and strategic analyst Angie Zigomanis said that in a normal market, the top reasons for mortgage stress were marriage breakups, job losses, but the pandemic had changed that. Well, the good old marriage breakups and family courts. We all know certain property experts that use that as their way to find delinquent properties, don't we? He said the most common reason was now far more specific, with homeowners in casual, COVID-19 affected positions topping the list. So here's the thing, guys. You're having people that are getting mortgages on casual jobs in low income areas that have just been decimated. This is why the government is terrified of a property collapse. This is the risk that we're seeing. Traditionally, they're in lower income areas, and people are more likely to be paying a higher percentage of their weekly income on mortgage repayments. Investors in the CBC, he said, were also suffering and were not always necessarily in mortgage stress just because of their investment. They could also be struggling to pay the mortgage on the home they lived in, he said. I mean, that's the choice. What do you keep? If you've got a mortgage for an investment property you can't pay off, or your house, what are you going to keep? You're going to ditch the investment property to keep your home. Bell Property Melbourne Principal Director and auctioneer Scott McElroy said it was particularly investors who were finding themselves in financial stress, with some owning properties that have been sitting there empty for the past 6 months. 6 months. We've just, we've found a property to rent. Just up the street from us, literally a few houses away, going cheap. And jumping through the hoops to rent a property is a nightmare. I haven't done it for so long. Rachel has probably been hanging around me too long because she's become so intolerant of all the garbage they're asking you for. She pretty much said, we'll pay you up front, everything now. You're not getting this, you're not getting this, you're not getting this. Guess what? Guess what worked? There you go. But not everyone can be in that situation. We're in a privileged position to have the resources to do that. A lot of people won't be. And I feel sorry for him, to be honest. Treated like a dog. They pretty much want your blood sample and your DNA just to rent a shack. I mean, come on. I can understand why real estate agents want to give that theatre that they're protecting their masters from dodgy people going into property, but still, come on. The city got a huge influx of properties that were Airbnb rentals onto the long-term rental market and saw a huge increase in available stock, he said. There you go. Remember, I mean, that's the thing. Buy a property, Airbnb it, negative gear it, and pay interest only. That's the big brain scheme, And what's happened now? Well, the whole world has been turned upside down. Adding to the financial stress of mortgage repayments were other costs like strata management fees and council rates. Oh, and don't forget sinking funds. While he hasn't seen a rush to sell, Mr. McElroy said more investors had been asking for valuations on properties over the past month. Low interest rates had helped them hang on to their investments, he said. But he did not believe Melbourne's property prices would suffer greatly, even if there was an increase in distressed sales. He said current market sentiment was positive. The housing market was improving, and distressed sales could be largely offset by very low levels of stock and strong buyer demand for the right properties. Yes, it's the right properties. Apartments are not the right properties. Who's going to be rushing out now to buy an investor-grade property? Maybe if you can get a good quality one at a bargain price and then just hold it for the few years that you need to before the market kicks back and demand increases. That could be the play you could do. But you need to have enough funds set aside to hold it for that period. There's the thing. So it's not going to be, the teacher who is about to retire and has 5 properties that he's only paying interest only and counting on the rent to keep it going, or the rent vestors. This is probably going to see the demise of the rent vestors, guys. What do you reckon? Do you think they'll continue? They'll be able to hold on? I somehow doubt it. ANZ economist Adelaide Trimble said that while there was mortgage stress, government stimulus, mortgage deferrals, and interest-only loans offered by banks had helped to stem the number of distressed sales currently on the market. Oh, and you're forgetting, Adelaide, about the trading while insolvent. Don't forget good old trading while insolvent. And what is it? Eviction moratoriums. Even if we do see forced selling, it's not going to create a big decline in price, she said. She said buyers' appetite was high and would certainly help to cushion distressed sales. Home buyers are likely to have more savings because they can't use it for a Europe trip, so they're using it to upgrade, she said. This is really an owner-occupier-led recovery. With the economy starting to bounce back and a COVID-19 vaccine on the horizon, it would be a positive for investors in particular, she said. The economy has started to recover and the rental market could come back as people regain employment and have money to pay the rent. Well, we'll have to see. What do you think, everyone? What do you think? And you can see here, I mean, there you go. Out in the western suburbs, there. And in the northern suburbs, look at that. Look at the level of mortgage stress. Look at the delinquency rates right in the heart. Where did I have my childhood? Around here, around near Coldstream, a bit further out. So there we have it, guys. I mean, look at that. Look at where the issues are in Melbourne. As always, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. Do you know of anyone in mortgage distress? How are you going with it? Are you keeping on? As always, if you are a fan of the channel and want to support us, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy a merch from HeiseSays, our blog, pocket squares we make behind us, or from Teespring you can get the custom mugs we get designed. You can also support us using Gold Pass from the Perth Mint or via PayPal. Take care, everyone. Have a great day, and I will see you all in the next episode.